Happiness.
Sharing.
Joy.
Warmth.
Love.
Wealth. Okay, fun.
The best holiday wishes from just the 10 of us.
I'd like a bike. I'd like a pony. What I love is my Sony. I like pizza pie. I like macaroni. But what I love is my Sony.
Now Sony makes small products for small people. Walkie-talkies, Walkman stereos, and cassette recorders. Specially made for kids.
I like Billy. I like Tony. But what I love is my first Sony. It won't be your last.
We belong together. Together we will be this season. Only together. Together on ABC. Happy holidays.
Hey, what are you looking at?
Dad's playing Santa Claus. Oh, let your father have his fun.
So, what's up?
Happy holidays from just the 10 of us.
Sitcom, all ye faithful, a Christmas podcast special. And for the 5th time I discussed 25 Christmas sitcom episodes. Please come and listen as we count down to Christmas. You should see Mr. Wilson, Tom Hanks, and Danny Thomas. Sherman Hemsley will return, and we head back to Springfield. We're definitely spending Christmas in Springfield.
Christmas!
Life is a race and I know I can win it, 'cause I'm learning the rules of the game.
If I could stay on the ball, take it minute by minute, I just might make the Hall of Fame. Come on, you know it. What can I say? I'm doing it the best I can. Leaning on nobody but me. Oh, I'm seeing it from where I stand. Nothing comes easy. Nothing comes easy. Happy Friday, everybody. It's Friday, December 19th, and welcome back to Sitcom, all ye faithful. Yes, as I said, we are here December 19th, the 19th day of Sitcom, all ye faithful, which means for the 19th day in a row, I am here talking Christmas sitcoms to you. And today I am talking about another spinoff, another show that I had to go to archive.org to find, even though I did find some versions later on YouTube. A show that I'm fairly certain I probably watched this episode the night it aired, possibly. We're talking almost 40 years ago now, so I don't know for sure. Right, 1987 is 38 years ago, which when I say that out loud is frightening to me. Today, I am here talking about the season 2 episode of Just the 10 of Us. Anyone remember that show? Just the 10 of Us. This episode was called A Christmas Story. Really, sometimes these writers, they can't come up with a really good title. Though back in the 80s, you didn't really know the title of episodes. They didn't show them. Maybe you didn't have the guide on screen. Maybe if you went to TV Guide, you'd see the name, the title of the episode. Maybe if you looked in your newspaper or TV listings, you might see the title of the episode. But nowadays, if you had it on home video, or if you were streaming it, you'd see the title of any episode of TV you're watching. However, Just the 10 of Us was never released on DVD. It's not streaming like anywhere. The version I watched was on archive.org that was ripped off an old, probably VHS recording that was on USA, because this show ran for 3 seasons from 87 to 1990, and then shortly after it was picked up by USA to syndicate, not like brought back. It was done. It was 3 seasons was enough, but it was brought to USA Network, where it ran for years and years and years. So I feel like maybe a lot of people who had cable, basic cable in the 90s did see this show, but they watched it on reruns. I remember watching it as a kid on Friday nights. This is 1988. I am 12 years old here. And you have a guy who's from Growing Pains. Yes, this show is a spinoff of Growing Pains, the show starring noted kook Kirk Cameron. At his high school, he had a coach named Coach Lubbock, and apparently they thought this guy was so funny that they gave him his own show. I don't know why that is. So this show, Just the 10 of Us, is starring Bill Kirchenbauer. And if you don't know that name, it's because he's not really a household name. I know you know him from, if you know him at all, I feel like you know him from Just the 10 of Us back in 1987, and that's really it. He was on a few episodes of Growing Pains, and then they gave him his own show, give him a wife, give him 8 children. That's why it's called Just the 10 of Us. He has 8 kids, and I guess he moved somewhere. He got a job at a Catholic school as a coach again. I think he's still a coach. Maybe he's also a teacher. I don't know exactly. It's been a long time. And the school is run by a priest played by Frank Bonner from friggin' WKRP in Cincinnati. What I didn't realize is that also on the show, there's another coach, maybe another coach. Maybe they're all coaches, played by Dennis Haysbert. And this is 1987 Dennis Haysbert. So this is right before he's Pedro Serrano in Major League. This is before, and then that's all I knew him from. I didn't realize I also saw him on Just the 10 of Us. I knew him from Major League. And then years later, I see him on 24. I'm like, that's the same guy? This is crazy. He can do anything. And he's like, I guess he kind of plays the friend of Coach Lubbock. That's the character named Graham Lubbock. He's, a big heavy set guy, balding guy, looks to be about 50s, and he's got 10 kids. And then I looked up the age of him and his children. But here's the thing, the show itself, and I'll get to the ages in a few minutes. The show itself, the episode itself, it really wasn't, there's nothing special about it, but I kind of wanted to talk about this show. First of all, because of that banger of a theme song. That is sung by Mr. Bill Medley himself, one of the Righteous Brothers. If you're going to have a theme song and you can get Bill Medley to sing that theme song, you better run for 3 seasons. Like, I feel like they watched it and they were like, I don't know, it's pretty good, it's okay. But then they hear the theme song and they're like, all right, full season, you got it. I think, I've known Bill Medley from the Righteous Brothers. I almost want to say Meldy every time. Bill Medley, you lost that love and feel, Unchained Melody, and of course the Dirty Dancing. This is fresh off of Dirty Dancing. But I recently, maybe in the last year, I listened to Who You Lost That Loving Feeling again, and I was just blown away by how strong his voice is. And the other Righteous brother, I don't know his name. I want to say Jimmy Righteous. I don't know. But I was just, you've heard that song 100 times, 1,000 times. You don't really listen to it. You don't really pay attention to it. But I was listening to how strong they were singing. I was like, damn, this is excellent. So hearing him here, I listened to it and I kind of remembered it. And then I watched the episode and I was like, yeah, I remember this a little bit. And then by the time it came to record, I'm like dancing in my seat. I couldn't wait to sing along with it. I almost want to stop now and just go back and listen to it again. Like, the best part of this episode that you're even listening to now is going back and listening to Bill Medley. So I'm really, really selling it for the rest of this episode. But I'd almost rather talk about the actual actors than I would the story that we get here. But let me give you a quick synopsis so it's Coach Lubbock. He's his wife. He's got 4 older teenage daughters, or maybe they're supposed to be one in college and a couple in high school. Then they have 2 younger kids, like 10, maybe 10, 11 years old. Then they have a toddler, and then they have a baby. So they have lots of kids. If you saw the dad, the mom, there's no way the mom could keep her hands off him. So it makes sense. So as I said, the dad is Bill Kirchenbauer. Now, he was a stand-up comic, and maybe he still is a stand-up comic. This was like the thing he's done the most, but he's been around. Like, at least, in the 2010s, he was still doing things. He'd be on an episode of The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, an episode of 2004. Okay, that's going back 20 years ago. He was in an episode of Frasier. But in 2015, he was in an episode of The Leftovers, which is a show that I know guest of this show, Chris, has tried to get me, or has been telling me to watch for years, and maybe someday. But he's just been around. Oh my goodness! He was on an episode of Clueless, and he played Coach Graham Bullock and on this show he's Coach Graham Lubbock. Okay, that is kind of clever. I'll take that. But he's like the big. Like, I'm just the big dad who loves coaching and tries to deal with his daughters getting older and being flirty and pretty much horned up because they want to talk about boys. And even in this episode, he dresses up as Sandra. He's like, boy, oh boy, I don't like the daughter's talking about sex. And I'm like, okay. But he isn't that funny, or this guy wasn't that funny. He was okay. But he was like, if he's supposed to be the star of the show, he didn't quite really make me laugh. And I thought maybe it was just, again, like misremembering how things were when I was a kid. I just thought maybe he was funnier. But the mom was fine too. But the mom is played by Deborah Harmon. And you're going to say, Deborah Harmon, do I know who that is? And you'll say, well, you might know. Now, she's been in a few movies that you might have seen. She was in a movie called Used Cars, directed by Robert Zemeckis. Oh, and she was also in a movie called, okay, Chris, yes, I haven't seen Used Cars yet, but you have. But she was also in another movie directed by Robert Zemeckis called Back to the Future. Yes, she is actually the first face you see in Back to the Future when the TV turns on and there's a news reporter and she's talking about plutonium being stolen. That is the actress who plays the mom on Just the 10 of Us. And then they have, I want to talk more about the 4 older daughters and their one son, or at least their one older son. I don't know if the babies are boys or girls, but the 4 older daughters. The oldest, now here's the thing. I think she's the oldest daughter on the show, even though there's another actress who is older than her. The oldest character, I don't know. One of the oldest daughters is Heather Langenkamp. Yes, Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street 1, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Nightmare on Elm Street 7. She plays the oldest daughter on this show. She's actually this is Nightmare on Elm Street 3 around the same time as this movie, as this TV show. So I feel like in Nightmare on Elm Street 3, didn't we already think she was like an adult? She's coming back to check on the kids of Elm Street at the hospital they were in. And yet in this, she's still kind of, I thought maybe she's supposed to be a teenager. I don't know. Maybe she's supposed to be a college student. Then you have an actress named Joanne Willette. Now, she is still acting. She was in recently she was in an episode of The Walking Dead. She was in an episode of Steel Magnolias. This is within the last 3 or 4 years, a couple episodes of Doom Patrol. So she is still acting and active, as of the last couple of years. But she's actually the oldest daughter in the show. I don't know if she was the oldest daughter as far as characters. In fact, I thought she was supposed to be the youngest out of the 4 older daughters, but maybe I'm wrong. Again, I don't know. I'm not going to go back and find out the actual character backgrounds to say where they are in school. But here's the thing. She played a small role of girl on the bus in A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. So now we have Nancy from 1, this girl from 2, Nancy from 3. But wait, there's more, because then there's another actress playing another daughter on the show. The actress's name is Brooke Thies, and she was in A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Dream Master. She got killed in a roach motel. I think they always talk she's like, I hate bugs, and then she turns into a bug. So we have one daughter, one of the Lubbock daughters was in each of the first Nightmare on Elm Street movies. And then, of course, Nancy comes back later in Wes Craven's New Nightmare. And I just always found that as a weird bit of trivia. Then we have another daughter on the show who might be the only daughter who is age appropriate as far as the older daughters. If I did my math correctly, she is 17 years old at the time of this episode, 16 years old when the show first started. This is Jamie Luner, who after this show, she went on to be she went on to be on All My Children for 300 plus episodes, but she is probably most known for being on Melrose Place for years. So that was where I feel like she had her second career. In fact, out of all the daughters, she probably had the most. Yes, Heather Langenkamp had big roles in the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, but this woman seems like she's done the most and continues, or at least for the last couple of years, was doing, maybe they're Hallmark movies, I don't know, but she's still doing stuff. However, none of them are the most successful Lubbock child. That would have to go to the oldest son on the show, Graham J.R. Lubbock Jr. Why do they call him J.R.? Because I guess Junior? That doesn't really make that much sense, but they called him J.R. on the show. He was the 11, 12-year-old boy on the show. In fact, this looks like this is the last thing he'd ever done as an actor. And wow, I didn't know that. So he started off, he was an episode of Facts of Life, Highway to Heaven, Different Strokes, Night Court. He's hit all the greats. Growing Pains, of course, yes, because of spinoff. Webster, and then Just the 10 of Us for 47 episodes. That's it? Really? 3 seasons, 47 episodes? Maybe he wasn't in every episode. But that was it. And then years later, all of a sudden he shows up, and this guy starts directing TV shows. Once and Again, Judging Amy, One Tree Hill. He's doing all these, directing things here and there. Then he directs a couple episodes of Ugly Betty. And then a couple years later, he's directing an episode of House, maybe a few episodes of House, and he's going up an episode of Mad Men. Ooh, he's not just doing little TV shows or sitcoms, he's doing some prestige television. And then you see years later, The Good Wife, that's a pretty big movie. And then he goes, and for 10 years, he directed over 40 episodes of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I was like, and then I remember that's when I first found out that the director, that this kid from Just the 10 of Us is now a director. I was like, he directs episode of Sunny? That's hilarious. Oh, then he goes on to direct a couple of big episodes of Game of Thrones. He goes to direct an episode of The Boys, Succession. Then he comes and he basically was the creator, I believe, of the Disney Plus show WandaVision. Oh, he directed a couple episodes of Monarch, that Godzilla show on Apple Plus. And can I just say, he just directed the giant Fantastic Four Marvel movie. So yes, I have to say, the fact that in 2025, he directed one of the biggest movies of the year. He directed a Marvel movie. I would say, yeah, he's probably the most successful Lubbock kid. I've gone over 18 minutes and I haven't given you one moment of episode of this show, and that's fine, because the last thing I want to talk about is the weird ages of let's go back to those 4 girls and the ages. So I looked it all up. Now, the dad on the show, Bill Kirchenbauer, he was born in 1953, which means at the time that this show aired, he was 35 years old. He looked like he was in at least his mid-50s. He looks at least 7 to 10 years older than his wife, who, Deborah Harmon, born in 1951. She's actually 2 years older than him. 35 years old looked different, I think, in 1987, right? I mean, I feel like it's wrinkly wise though. I probably have more wrinkles on my face, and maybe he has a younger face, but he looks very doughy, and that bald head, that fully, like the ring of hair. He almost would be better off if he shaved his head completely, I guess. But again, now remember this, 35 and 37 years old, 1953, 1951. Let's go to Joanne Willette, who I always thought was the 3rd or 4th oldest daughter. Maybe she's supposed to be the 2nd oldest, but she's actually the oldest actress because she was born in 1963, which means that if everyone is their actual age, mom and dad had this daughter at 10 years old and 12 years old. Yes, the dad was only 10 and the mom was only 12. They're only 10, and 12 years older than them. Heather Langenkamp, born in 1964. She's 24 years old. Again, they're only 11 and 13 years older than two of their daughters. Brooke Thies is 19 years old. Okay, she's born in 1969, which means, mom and dad were, like, mom was at least 18. She's an adult in the eyes of the law. And she's dating a 16-year-old, so I don't know if that's proper. When they had Brooke Thies, but at this point it's their third child, so I mean, I guess they're already married. I don't know. She's 19 years old, and then Jamie Luner, she might be the only one who's actually age appropriate. She is 16 years old, and she plays. So the way it is, I think Jamie Luner she plays the character who's a pretty ditzy, and she had some real dumb, like, I'm the dumb girl. Brooke Thies played the feisty, flirty one. Joanne played the bookish, like, maybe she was like the hippy dippy one. And Heather Langenkamp played the oldest bookish, like, responsible one. She kept calling them their leader, and she was the one who helped father, figure out what to do. Oh, when I actually talk about the story 20 minutes into this episode. But okay, Brooke Thies Jamie Luner's 1971, so she's 16 years old at the time of this. So 35 years old. So he's almost, 18 or so. Oh no, she's 17. Yeah, dad was 18, mom was 20, when they had their youngest of the four older daughters. I mean, they just didn't stop. I don't know if it was they just kept having children, and they're worried. Like, in this episode, he's worried about getting gifts for his children. Well, stop having children. Nobody's telling you to have a seventh and an eighth child. Okay. Now, maybe he's teaching at this school so the kids can get in for free. I don't know. But let's actually get to the episode, shall we? This episode actually originally aired on December 16th, 1988. And you know what? Well, let's not get into the episode yet. Let's wait a minute. Let's talk about what else was on December 16th, 1988. Over on NBC, it looked like it was just mostly Christmas specials. I don't know what the hell Sunny Spoon is, but at 8 o'clock, the Smurfs were on. So there must have been a Christmas Smurfs special, because at 8:30, it was a Chipmunks Christmas, or a Chipmunk Christmas. And then at 9 o'clock, something called Sunny Spoon. I don't know what that is, but apparently it's a show starring Mario Van Peebles as Sunny Spoon. Oh, and Melvin Van Peebles. Oh, didn't they open like a bar? They opened like a club or something like that? Maybe. It kind of sounds familiar. And then, okay, so it wasn't just Christmas specials, because we had a new episode of Sunny Spoon, followed by a brand new episode of Miami Vice. Over on CBS, Beauty and the Beast. Now, no, we're not talking about a Christmas special. We're not talking about the cartoon. We're talking about Hellboy and Sarah Connor. They're together. She plays Catherine Chandler, and he plays Vincent. We're not talking about Belle and the Beast. No, this is very different. But I remember thinking this was kind of cool. Even though I never watched an episode, I always thought the makeup on the Beast was pretty cool, because it's friggin' Linda Carter and Ron Perlman. So yeah, I never watched it, but I remember being like fascinated. Like, that's the woman from Terminator, and she's with a Beast Man. Over on CBS. Oh yeah, this is CBS. After Beauty and the Beast, a brand new episode of Dallas. I mean, nothing sounds more 80s than when you're like, what's on at 9 o'clock? Dallas, followed by a brand new episode of Falcon Crest. Falcon Crest. The most 80s sounding TV show ever. But on ABC, we had some fun family fun. Stuff I probably watched. Stuff that every show now, from 8 to 10, I've covered on Sitcom All Ye Faithful. Not exactly these episodes, but I have covered every show, because at 8 o'clock, there is a brand new episode of Perfect Strangers, The Gift of the Mypiet. Mypiet? The Gift of the Mypiet, which I just listened to a podcast about this episode. There is a Christmas-themed podcast that I listen to called Advent Calendar House, where they talk about all kinds of TV holiday specials, but mostly Christmas ones. And it's not just sitcoms. They talk about all kinds of, like, anything that is a special Christmas show or a special episode they talk about, and they talked about this exact episode of Perfect Strangers. I did not talk about this episode of Perfect Strangers when I covered them a couple Christmases ago. But I did talk about the next episode of television, Full House, our very first Christmas show. I think Brandon joined me for that one, and it might have been a Christmas Eve episode, either year 1 or year 2. I don't remember, but I definitely talked about it. That is followed by a brand new episode of Mr. Belvedere, but it's not an episode that I talked about, not the one that I did talk about and covered for Sitcom All You Faithful. And then at 9:30, this episode of Just the 10 of Us, A Christmas Story. What an original title. Followed by an episode of 2020. But what is going on in this episode? Oh, by the way, also, I'm never going to get to this episode, am I? If you go on YouTube, you can look up the screen test of Just the 10 of Us, where it's the coach, and I think he's still at the school where he taught the Seaver children from Growing Pains. And it was called, what's it called? Yo Coach. Literally, that's what it's called. Before they wanted to make a show around this guy for some reason. Yo Coach. And it turned into Just the 10 of Us. So let's get to the actual episode. I've wasted your time long enough. This part won't take that long. I mostly wanted to talk about how these kids all, were in horror movies and in directing movies, and this guy wasn't, as funny as I thought he was, and the fact that their ages are a little wacky. That is, the show itself was more exciting than the episode, or talking about it in the theme song. Everything around the show was more interesting to me than the show. But here we go. And let's see if I remember now. I'll probably forget. So it's Christmas time, and Graham wants to get his wife an organ. Okay, a nice church organ, kind of like a church organ, but a home organ. And he buys it off this guy who basically bought it off the back of a truck, it seemed like. And he's there with his oldest daughter. I don't know, and I don't know any of their names, so I'm going to say it's Heather Langenkamp. And they're going to pay $500 for this. And he's like, hey, the guy's like, hey, it's very good. It's fine. We got it. We took it from the Sisters of the Poor. They couldn't afford it anymore. So they got the organ and they put it in the truck, and then the truck doesn't start. He's like, oh no. So he brings it to some guy to repair it. I guess this guy's been in a couple episodes. He's the old man at the airport in Home Alone, or he's on the airplane. I think he's also an old man at the airport in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. So John Hughes must like this guy. And he's like, well, it's not that bad of a repair, but it's going to cost, to actually fix the leak in the transmission will cost about $500. So now he's like, which was the exact amount that he paid for the organ. So he's like, oh no. So he has two options: bring the organ back so that he can pay for the car, or not do that and do what he actually does, which is some dumb sitcom stuff. So he is talking to his friend, who played by Dennis Haysbert, and he's like, they do this role-playing thing where Dennis plays him, and this guy, Coach Lubbock, plays the wife. And like, why don't we have gifts for the children? Well, I had to get the car fixed. So, or why don't you have a gift for me? Because I had to get the car fixed. So the Dennis Haysbert comes up with a plan. Why don't you just sell this car for to someone, then take that money and buy a car that works? That seems really dumb. And they're like, wait, you can do that? It's like, yeah, just, don't tell them what's wrong with it. Let them figure it out, or tell them to bring it to a mechanic and let them figure it out. But whatever money you get for that, then you can use that to buy another car that works. Again, this seems flawed. So you're losing the car. Okay, you took the $500 and you bought the organ. Then you're going to trade and get rid of a car, take that money and buy a new car. I guess it balances out. And you still have whatever money you got for the kids to get gifts, and whatever money you saved up to get your wife a gift. Great. So his way of doing this is, in the middle of class, he takes one of his students, like one of the students who's an actual, I remember him. He's kind of nerdy, and he's kind of like anxious. And I think he's probably one of the few students they highlighted in the school. And he pulls them out of class and says, hey, you know how they sell cars down, like they put cars for sale down by the mall, I think? We don't see what happens. They kind of edit it. And then the kid comes back and goes, I sold your car. It worked. He's like, you did? This is great. He goes, yeah, Father so-and-so is going to pick it up tomorrow. He's like, what? It turns out he sold the car to Coach Lubbock's boss. And now he's like, oh, God, I'm selling him a lemon. Oh, no. And then he, instead of just telling his wife, look, honey, the car broke down. I need to fix the car. And I don't have the money to get you this gift this year that I wanted to. I'm so sorry. The mother would say, that's okay, because I'm an adult. You'd think. You know, it's weird that today I picked this show and this people like, it's dealing with cars because someone hit our car. And we don't know who, we don't know when, because it happened when we were, parked somewhere. And we don't know when because there was like salt on the car. So I got the car washed. And the next day my wife was like, somebody hit our car. I'm like, oh, crap. Got to go through insurance because it's a brand new car. It's a lease. I'm not going to I got to get it fixed. And it turns out we have a deductible. And the deductible, and I'm like, yes, I know exactly what that means. But, just explain it to me. Just pretend I don't know what that means. Well, it means you have to pay $500 up to your damage. And we'll cover the rest. Great. Just like Graham Lubbock, I should sell this car, take that money, and buy a car that works. Our car's fine. It just has it's like scratches and a tiny little dent, but it's just annoying. It's more annoying than anything, in the fact that I have to pay some of this out of pocket for some jerk who wouldn't even leave a note. But anyway, so are you caught up with me right now? He spent $500 on an organ that he's been trying. His wife has wanted for years, and the joke is. Later on, the ditzy girl's like, which organ? Like they're thinking it's a human organ because, ditzes are dumb on sitcoms. And he's complaining to his wife about the car. And he's like, I can't talk about machinery to a woman. And it wasn't even like for laughs. It was just him like saying like, I'm a man, you're a woman. You don't know anything about cars. It was weird. And it was at this point I'm thinking, is this guy funny or good at acting at all? I'm not sure. Like everyone else around him is okay. The kids, I guess, are the humor. I guess. I don't know. So here's it gets even wackier. So the four daughters decide they're going to come together and they're going to pay for the repair so that dad can still have Christmas and still get their mom the organ, still pay for the organ. And he doesn't have to return it. Because the guy in the truck said he would let him return it. Maybe it was $600. Yeah, because the guy tried to say he'd only give back $500. So it's more than my deductible. Okay, so you're caught up now. The car needs to be fixed. He's got someone to buy it, even though, and they said have your mechanic look at it. But then he found out his boss is the one who bought it. Now he feels bad. So then he goes to see the boss and he's like, I heard you bought my car. And the boss is like, it's fine. Everything's fine. He's like, it is? Okay. So he goes to leave because the daughter's got the car fixed, and the daughter's actually got a discount because they flirted with the guy. They're like, yeah, they said they wanted to come over and I'm really excited to eat because they said they want to give each of us a Christmas goose, meaning they want to squeeze your ass. But she's the ditz, so she doesn't know any better. So they get the car fixed. Then the priest, the principal, he's like the principal, the headmaster, is talking to Dennis Haysbert's character. And Dennis Haysbert's like, yeah, it's, he goes, here's your Christmas bonus. He goes, give it to Coach Lubbock. He's had a rough time. His car just, he's had issues with his car and his transmission's all screwed up. And the priest is like, really? So you think, he's going to get in trouble. So then Christmas comes and Coach Lubbock gives all the kids gifts and he dresses up as Santa, and Dennis Haysbert comes over and the organ's there. And then the priest shows up and the priest is like, you know what? I don't want your stinking car. Because it was about to be like sold the next day. It hadn't happened yet. And before that happens, the daughters give him a card saying they fixed the car. And he's like, oh, you guys are the best. Like, no, it's from Santa. Well, tell Santa he's got the best daughters, or he's the best daughter ever. And he's like, oh, no. And then he realized he's selling this car now. So he's Then the priest shows up, brings him outside. He goes, I don't want your stinking car. And he's like, really? Like, he doesn't say you tried to sell me a lemon, doesn't get mad. He just says, I don't want your car. And then he's like, oh my God, thank you. He gives him a big hug. Then the wife comes out and goes, maybe before he could yell at him, he says, Father, have some eggnog and come in. I want to show you this gift. And there's the organ. And the priest is like, I used to play the organ. And then they're like, oh, please, it's Christmas. It feels a man of the cloth playing the organ first. That seems like a wonderful thing. So he sits down to play the organ. And now remember, this is Frank Bonner from WKRP in Cincinnati. He sits down to play the organ and he plays this weird, like, I guess it's a church song because they all started singing, but it was a weird song. It wasn't Christmassy. And it was like, it felt almost gospel-y, but not. It was like corny, maybe country-ish. I don't know if it was like opera. I don't know. It wasn't great. I didn't know the song, but they were all looking at each other like, what the hell is he doing? But they all pitched in and they all started singing. And that was the end of the episode. The episode itself, it was very mediocre 80s television. I'm thinking maybe I'm 12 years old and I liked the fact that oh my God, that's the girl from Nightmare on Elm Street. And who are these other cute girls? And it's a spinoff of Growing Pains. So obviously I'm going to watch it. That had to be it. Because it wasn't like, oh my God, I remember laughing out loud with the show. I think it's just, it was on and I'm 12 and this is what my family did. We watched sitcoms. But it's funny that it's not on DVD anywhere. It's not streaming anywhere. It's not like officially streaming someplace. And I'm almost like, does it really need it? But there's so many shows that like Pluto pick up or the other things like Pluto, the Tubi, you'd think, or the Roku channel, you'd think someone would just pick up these episodes and air them, do like their own version of TGIF, but maybe rights wise or interest wise, it's just not in the cards. But somebody actually made a change.org petition to have Just the 10 of Us released on DVD. And that's when you realize really anybody could make anything on change.org. And I'm done. That is it. I am calling it. I finished this a lot later than I thought I would. But here we are. We did it again. 19 days down. The final Friday. We have less than a week left. And it's funny. I texted Chris from the Office episodes that what I was doing, and he just wrote back, so you run out of sitcoms. And I was like, no. I mean, I like to talk about the big ones. I want to talk about shows I've never seen. I want to talk about shows I'd like to see, but I also like talking about the shows that I do remember watching as a kid, and this is definitely one of them. And again, I think my memories of the show are more rosy than the actual experience of watching the show, revisiting the show. It didn't give me that major nostalgic feeling. It's just, I know that, I was probably watching this show that night in 1988. And while looking up for commercials, like 88 commercials at Christmas, I found another show and I thought, oh my goodness, how have I not done that yet? And that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm not going to, I'll just leave you wondering what that could be. But as far as today is concerned, I am all done. I want to give a quick shout out to Amber Brown Dog, a longtime fan of Geek Mentality and supporter of the show. He wrote the other day and said the Geek Mentality fan club had an emergency meeting to discuss the Tom Hanks issue. Oh, don't get me started with the Tom Hanks issue. That is burning. Every time I hear the theme song, it burns. It rage in my heart. He says there is a Bosom Buddies episode that aired on Christmas in 1981, although it's not a Christmas episode. So that's interesting. And he says perhaps a bonus podcast. Ooh, maybe to appease the rabid fan base, which, is him definitely for sure. But maybe there's others. Almost like a way to make up for Tom Hanks not being there, not actually being on a Christmas episode, and also giving thanks to the listeners, kind of like a Hanks thanks. That not a terrible idea. He also mentions at the end, this is the best sitcom All Ye Faithful season ever. That, Amber Brown Dog, Mike, I appreciate that. He says, even without Happy Days. Yes. it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough not being able to celebrate Christmas with the Fonz, Potsy, Richie, Shortcake, Mrs. C, Mr. C, Arnold, Leather and Pinky Tuscadero, Chachi, Sticks, Eugene, Flick, Roger, Arnold, Chuck. Sometimes Chuck would be there. Okay, I'm done. I'm just reminiscing about the good old days. Those were the good old days. Those were the good old days. I played that song for my wife yesterday, the Weird Al song, and I was like, "This is a beautiful song. The lyrics are crazy, but it's a beautiful song." It has nothing to do with Christmas sitcoms, but I am tired, so sometimes I just go on a tangent. So I'm going to leave you now, but I will be back tomorrow to talk more Christmas sitcoms to you. And I think I mentioned the other day that I would be talking with a friend of mine, someone who's been on the show multiple times, and that he would, I might have mentioned that he'd be on the show today. Didn't happen, or I was probably going to be recording today, but we had to reschedule, but it is still on the docket, so fear not, fear not, fear not. If you are looking for some animation, and I'm not talking about day 25, I'm talking about something else that I've discussed multiple times over the years with this man. It is still going to happen. But until then, you're stuck with me. And I got to get Eric on board. We got to get Eric. Eric, if you're out there, if you're listening, we must get you scheduled. We're running out of time. Now, doesn't matter, though. We still have time to figure it all out. We will, because we still have 6 days left. 6 days and counting. Didn't I say I was leaving? I feel like I keep saying it, but I'm still here. So let me get the hell out of here. You can follow me on all the socials at Geek Mentality, except TikTok, which is Geek Mentality Mike. The Facebook page is Fans Not Experts. The YouTube channel is Fans Not Experts. That's because the website is fansnotexperts.com. I am now officially on 2 weeks of vacation, and I am very excited. But I'm going to be very busy, too, doing all this crazy podcast stuff. I'll be back again tomorrow, my friends. But until then, thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. And here is my theme song. This is my podcast. I made it. Geek Mentality's what I named it. And I think you should listen and subscribe. 'Cause I'm kinda funny and awesome. I think that I'm worth your time. And I'm kinda handsome. My mom says, please listen and please subscribe. At least listen to this episode.
Fans Not Experts.